Commander Hannah Park stood alone on the observation deck, her silhouette small against the vast blackness of space. The stars here were unfamiliar, so different from those that once shone over Earth. She often came here to think, finding comfort in the quiet and the infinite view. 200 years had passed since the Corvée Empire destroyed humanity's homeworld. The devastating attack was still called the Great Burning in their history lessons. 3 days of relentless bombardment from orbit that turned 10,000 years of human civilization into ash and rubble. Hannah's great-great-grandparents had been among the lucky few to escape. 7 ships had fled Earth's destruction, carrying barely 10,000 humans between them. They traveled beyond the Perseus Arm to regions unexplored by the major galactic powers, where the Corvée rarely ventured. Here, they established Nova Haven, a colony hidden among the stars. For generations, survival had been their only goal. They built their colony inside an asteroid, harvesting ice from nearby comets for water and growing food in carefully managed hydroponic farms. Their population had grown slowly but steadily, reaching nearly 30,000. Still, they remained hidden, afraid that discovery would mean extinction. The door to the observation deck slid open with a soft hiss. Hannah turned to see Lieutenant Ta Kim entering, a data tablet clutched in his hands. "Commander Park," he said, his voice tight with excitement. "We've made progress with the archives recovered from the Horizon facility." The Horizon facility had been an abandoned research station they'd discovered 6 months ago. It had been sealed and powered down, preserving its data for centuries. "Show me," Hannah said. Ta handed her the tablet. The encryption was complex, but we finally broke through the security protocols. Hannah scrolled through the files, her eyes widening as she realized what she was seeing. "Are these defense plans?" "Yes, Mum," Ta nodded eagerly. "And not just any plans. These are coordinates and access codes for military installations that might still be operational. Stealth technology, weapons systems, automated defense platforms, all designed to be self-sustaining." Hannah's hand trembled slightly as she continued reading. "Some of these installations are in Corvée territory now." "Yes, but according to these files, they were built with advanced cloaking technology. The Corvée might not know they exist." Hannah walked to the window, staring out at the stars again, but with new eyes. For 2 centuries, her people had hidden, merely trying to survive. They had preserved human culture, language, and history, but they had lived in fear, knowing they were too few to ever reclaim what was lost. "There's more," Ta said, stepping beside her. "The archives mention other evacuation ships, not just the 7 in our fleet. There were smaller vessels, experimental ships with cryostasis technology. They were heading to different coordinates." "Other survivors," Hannah whispered. "It's possible. And with these military installations, we could have the means to find them, to defend ourselves if discovered." Hannah felt her heart racing. Her entire life, she had been taught that hiding was the only way to survive. Now, for the first time, she saw another possibility. "Assemble the council," she ordered, "and get me everything you can from those archives." 2 days later, Hannah stood before the 12 members of the Nova Haven Council, the colony's governing body. She had spent hours studying the recovered files, planning her words carefully. "For 200 years, we have hidden from the galaxy," she began. "We've built a life here, preserved our heritage, but always in the shadows, always in fear." She activated the display screen behind her, showing star maps with glowing points marking the locations of the military installations. "We now have a chance to change that. These facilities contain technology that could allow us to defend ourselves, to explore safely, perhaps even to find other human survivors." Councillor Min stood up, his face creased with worry. "You're suggesting we reveal ourselves, risk everything our ancestors sacrificed to preserve." "I'm suggesting we take back what is ours," Hannah replied firmly. "Not in a single reckless action, but step by step, carefully. We start by sending small teams to reactivate these installations. We gather intelligence. We build our strength. The room filled with murmurs, some afraid, some excited. "And if we're discovered?" another counselor asked. "Then we fight," Hannah said simply. "But we fight with purpose and hope, not just to survive another day hiding in the dark." The vote was close, but in the end, the council approved her plan. 1 week later, Hannah watched as their first reconnaissance ship prepared to depart, its mission to locate and reactivate the nearest installation. For the first time in generations, humans were doing more than just surviving. They were taking the first step toward reclaiming their place among the stars. The ancient station drifted silently around the massive orange gas giant. Its once white hull had darkened to a dull gray over 2 centuries of neglect. If not for the faded blue insignia of the Earth Defense Force still visible on its side, it might have been mistaken for space debris. Inside the Pathfinder's cockpit, Captain Suk-Yoon carefully guided the small scout ship toward the abandoned station. His hands moved steadily over the controls despite his excitement. This was the 3rd installation they had found since beginning their mission 3 months ago. Approaching docking bay, he reported to his crew of 6. Structural integrity appears intact. Behind him, Lieutenant Min nodded, her eyes fixed on the scanner readings. No signs of life or activity, just like the others. The Pathfinder slipped through the massive bay doors that had opened automatically when their ship transmitted the ancient access codes. Inside, emergency lights flickered to life, casting an eerie blue glow across the empty hangar. "Beginning docking procedure," Suk announced. The ship settled onto the deck with a gentle thud. For a moment, everyone sat in silence, staring through the viewports at the abandoned facility that had waited 2 centuries for human return. "Atmosphere reads as thin but breathable," Min reported. "Temperature is cold but within tolerable range." Suk nodded. "Suit up anyway. We follow standard protocols." 20 minutes later, the team moved through the station's main corridor in their environmental suits. Chief Engineer Jun Lee led the way to the central control room, followed by Suk and 4 other crew members. The control room was vast, with curved walls lined with darkened displays and control panels. Dust floated in the beams of their flashlights. "Just like the schematics showed," Jun said, his voice coming through their helmet comms. He moved to a central console and began working. "Give me a few minutes to get primary systems online." The rest of the team spread out, examining the ancient technology. Despite being 2 centuries old, the station's systems were built to last. Earth's final generation had known their civilization might fall and had prepared accordingly. After 15 minutes of work, Jun let out a triumphant sound as the overhead lights flickered on and the main display screens began to glow. "Life support is functional," he reported. "Power systems at minimal capacity, but we can restore them to at least 60% within a few hours." Suk removed his helmet, breathing in the stale but breathable air. "Excellent work. Begin full systems check and data recovery." The team worked efficiently, each member knowing their tasks. This wasn't their first recovery mission. The previous installations had yielded invaluable technology. Advanced weapon systems from a lunar defense platform and stealth field generators from a research facility hidden in an asteroid belt. 3 hours into their work, Jun's excited voice came over the comms. "Captain, you need to see this." Suk made his way to the database center where Jun was working at a terminal, his face illuminated by the screen's glow. "What have you found?" Jun pointed to the display. "I've accessed their intelligence archives." This station was monitoring Corvi communications before it was abandoned. The system continued passive collection for decades afterward. "Does it have information on Corvi fleet movements?" Suk asked, leaning closer. "Yes, extensive data, though most is outdated now. But that's not the important part." Jun's voice dropped. "Sir, there are references to human remnants the Corvi have been hunting over the past century." Suk felt his heart skip a beat. "Show me." Jun pulled up multiple reports, translations of intercepted Corvi communications. They spoke of ghost ships with human signatures, hit-and-run attacks on outlying Corvi outposts, and ongoing efforts to locate what they called surviving human enclaves. These reports come from all over the galaxy, Jun said, pointing to a star map with markers showing incident locations, some as recent as 30 years ago. Suk stared at the map, barely able to believe what he was seeing. "We're not alone," he whispered. "There's more," Jun continued. "This station has a quantum communication beacon. It was designed to connect with other Earth Defense Force installations using entangled particles. If we activate it, we might be able to contact other human survivors." Suk finished. He straightened, a decision forming in his mind. Download everything, every bit of data in this station, and prepare the quantum beacon for activation. "Sir," Jun said hesitantly, "if we activate the beacon, couldn't the Corvée detect it?" "Possibly," Suk admitted, "but we've spent generations hiding. If there are others out there fighting back, they need to know they're not alone." He looked around at the team gathering near them. "It's time to find our lost kin." An hour later, as the ancient quantum beacon hummed to life, sending its signal across impossible distances through the fabric of space-time itself, Suk stood watching with a mixture of hope and fear. After 2 centuries of hiding, humanity was about to announce its survival to the stars. Admiral Jun Park paced the length of Nova Haven's command center, his steps measured, and even despite his growing excitement, the large room, carved from the heart of the asteroid they called home, hummed with activity as officers monitored data streams from their newly established network of reactivated Earth installations. At the center of the room stood a massive holographic display showing Corvée territory. The Empire's worlds glowed blue, while their military outposts and supply stations appeared as smaller white dots. What caught everyone's attention were the dozens of red markers scattered throughout, each representing an attack against Corvée targets. 3 more incidents reported yesterday, said Dai-Chang, the head of Nova Haven Intelligence. Though in his 60s, Dai moved with the energy of a much younger man, his eyes sharp behind simple glasses. The Corvée call them phantoms, ships that appear from nowhere, strike critical targets, and vanish before reinforcements arrive. Jun stopped pacing and studied the pattern of red markers. "These attacks follow the same pattern as our operations," he observed, "but we're not responsible for at least half of them." His sister, Commander Hannah Park, stood on the opposite side of the display. In the 6 months since discovering the archived defense plans, she had led the initiative to reactivate Earth's dormant military network. Now she pointed to a distant sector near the edge of Corvée space. "The Pathfinder detected unusual energy signatures here," she said. "They match old Earth technology. If there are other human survivors using similar tactics, it would explain these phantom attacks," Jun finished. "But why haven't they responded to our quantum beacon signals?" "Maybe they can't," Dai suggested. "Or maybe they don't trust that it's really us." The 3 leaders fell silent, contemplating this possibility. For 2 centuries, humanity had believed itself reduced to a single hidden colony. The idea that other groups had survived, had perhaps been fighting all along, filled them with both hope and unease. "We need to increase our reconnaissance efforts," Jun decided. "If there are other human survivors out there, we need to find them before the Corvée do." "The Pathfinder is already investigating that sector," Hannah reminded him. "Captain Suk is our best scout. If anyone can find them, he will." Their conversation was interrupted by a young communications officer who rushed toward them, her face flushed with excitement. "Admiral, Commander, we've just received an emergency transmission from the Pathfinder. They've discovered something in the Cygnus Nebula." The officer handed Jun a datapad. His eyes widened as he read the report. "A massive energy signature," he said, looking up at Hannah. "Consistent with a dormant fleet. Earth Defense Force signatures." The command center fell silent. "How massive?" Dai asked quietly. "At least 50 capital ships," Jun replied. "Maybe more hidden deeper in the nebula." Hannah took a deep breath. "Have they made contact?" "No," Jun said. The Pathfinder is maintaining distance and observation only, as ordered. But Captain Sook reports there are signs of minimal power usage and life support systems. Someone is maintaining those ships. We need to send additional vessels, Hannah said immediately. Not just for investigation, but for protection. If the Corvée discover this fleet before we can make contact. I agree, Jun nodded. I'll lead the mission myself. 3 days later, Jun stood on the bridge of the Nova Guardian, the largest warship in their small but growing fleet. Through the view screen, he could see the Cygnus Nebula, its swirling clouds of gas and dust illuminated by the light of newborn stars. Entering nebula perimeter, Admiral, reported the helmsman. Proceed slowly, Jun ordered. Maintain stealth systems at maximum. The ship glided forward into the colorful mists. Visibility dropped as gases enveloped their vessel. Navigation switched to sensor readings only. Detecting the Pathfinder at coordinates 227 Mark 43, the tactical officer announced. They've maintained position as ordered. Hail them, Jun said. Captain Sook's face appeared on the communication screen. He looked tired but alert. Admiral, welcome to the Cygnus Nebula. We've been monitoring the fleet continuously since our arrival. Any changes? Yes, sir. Power readings have increased by 12%. We believe they detected our presence and raised their alert status. Jun nodded. Take us in, Lieutenant. Let's meet our long-lost family. As the Nova Guardian pushed deeper into the nebula, the sensors began to register massive shapes ahead. The silhouettes of warships arranged in a defensive formation. Old Earth warships, preserved for 2 centuries, waiting. Admiral, the sensor operator called out, voice tight with tension. We're being scanned and targeted. Multiple weapons locks from the dormant fleet. Before Jun could respond, the communication system came to life. A face appeared on screen. A woman with gray-streaked dark hair and eyes hardened by years of struggle. Attention approaching vessel, she said. This is Admiral Min Kang of the Earth Reclamation Forces. Identify yourself or be destroyed. Jun stepped forward, heart pounding. This is Admiral Jun Park of Nova Haven Colony. We are human survivors, like you. And we've come to bring you home. The meeting room aboard the Nova Guardian felt too small for the history being made within it. Admiral Jun Park sat at one end of the table, his sister Commander Hannah beside him. Across from them sat the representatives of the Earth Reclamation Forces, people who, until 3 days ago, they had believed couldn't possibly exist. Captain Minho Kang, son of Admiral Min Kang, served as the primary speaker for the reclamation. His uniform was noticeably different from those worn by the Nova Haven officers, older in design, with visible patches and repairs, but unmistakably human military. The insignia showed Earth's continents surrounded by stars. They call themselves the Reclamation, Minho explained, his voice steady and confident. Our ancestors were part of Earth's deep space fleet. They were on patrol when the Corvée attacked our homeworld. He paused, the weight of history evident in his eyes. When they received news of Earth's fall, they gathered as many civilian ships as they could and fled to the edges of known space. For decades, they simply hid and rebuilt, but about 100 years ago, they made a decision to begin fighting back. Admiral Jun couldn't believe it. Another human colony, surviving independently all these years, not just surviving but actively fighting. We thought we were the last, Hannah said softly. As did we, replied Minho, until our long-range scouts detected your operations against the Corvée. At first, we thought it might be a trap. The Corvée have used such tactics before to draw us out. How many of you are there? Jun asked. Nearly 50,000 spread across 3 hidden bases, Minho answered. Our main settlement is in the Cygnus Nebula, where we discovered the mothball fleet. It took decades to restore the ships to working condition. Hannah leaned forward. And you've been attacking Corvée targets all this time? Yes, small strikes only. Hit and run. We never had the strength for a major offensive. Minho's eyes brightened. But now, with your colony, your technologies, and what we've developed, things have changed. He activated a small device on his wrist. A holographic display appeared above the table, showing dozens of star systems with various markings. These are all places where resistance against the corvée exists, he explained. Not just human resistance. Jun studied the map with growing amazement. These are alien civilizations. Yes, species that have suffered under corvée rule. Some were conquered centuries ago, others more recently. All have been fighting back in their own ways. The map showed at least 20 different species spread across corvée territory. Some maintained hidden colonies like humans did, while others lived under corvée rule but operated underground resistance movements. We've been making contact with them over the past 50 years, Minho continued, building trust, sharing intelligence, coordinating our attacks. And they're willing to work with humans? Hannah asked. Most species wouldn't even know what a human looks like anymore. They know us as the Phantoms, Minho said with a slight smile. The species that was supposed to be extinct, but keeps striking from the shadows. It's given us a certain mystique. He zoomed in on one particular system, marked in green. The Liran were the first to ally with us openly. They've provided us with advanced medical technology in exchange for weapons. Through them, we made contact with the Vosh. As he spoke, Minho moved his hand across the display, highlighting different systems and explaining the network of resistance that had been growing right under the Corvée Empire's nose. With our fleet, your forces, and these allies, Jun began, his mind racing with possibilities. We can cripple the Corvée Empire, Minho finished, and reclaim what's ours. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. After 2 centuries of hiding and merely surviving, humanity now had a real chance to fight back. There's something else you should know, Minho said after a moment. Something we discovered only recently. He adjusted the holographic display again. This time it showed Earth, their lost homeworld. The corvée didn't destroy Earth completely, he explained. They turned it into a mining colony. There are still billions of intelligent beings living there, mostly corvée workers and various slave species. Hannah gasped. Earth is inhabited. Yes, and according to our intelligence, there may even be humans there, descendants of captured survivors, forced to work in the mines. Jun stood up and walked to the display, staring at the blue-green world that existed now only in Nova Haven's historical archives. How confident are you in this intelligence? He asked. Very, Minho replied. One of our agents spent 3 years undercover on a corvée administrative station. She accessed their planetary resource records. Earth is listed as one of their primary mining worlds for rare minerals. Jun turned to face the others, his expression resolved. Then our mission is clear. We unite with the reclamation forces, coordinate with these alien resistance groups, and prepare for war. Not just any war, Hannah added. A war of liberation. It won't be easy, Minho warned. The Corvée Empire has ruled the galaxy for centuries. Their military forces outnumber us thousands to 1. But they think we're extinct, Jun said. They won't be expecting a coordinated attack from within their own territory. And they certainly won't be expecting humans to lead it. He extended his hand across the table toward Minho. Captain Kang, I believe it's time for the Phantoms to step out of the shadows. Minho gripped his hand firmly. Admiral Park, the reclamation forces are ready to follow your lead. The Corvée High Command never saw it coming. After 6 months of careful planning, the combined forces of humanity and their alien allies struck simultaneously across 17 sectors of Corvée space. The timing was perfect, each attack precisely coordinated through quantum communication systems that the Corvée could not detect or intercept. On the main command ship of the Corvée Empire, Supreme Commander Krell received the reports with growing horror. Shipyards burning in the Vega sector. Communication hubs going dark near the core worlds. Supply lines collapsing throughout the outer territories. And strangest of all, ships appearing from nowhere. Ships with human markings, a species believed extinct for 2 centuries. Impossible, he whispered as another alert sounded. Admiral Jun Park stood on the bridge of the Vindication, the flagship of the combined human fleet. Through the main viewport, he could see hundreds of ships, human vessels from both Nova Haven and the Reclamation Forces, alongside the distinctive designs of their alien allies. They had fought their way through the outer systems, liberating planet after planet as they pushed toward their ultimate goal. Now, after 3 weeks of combat, they had reached their destination. Earth hung before them, a blue-green jewel wrapped in orbital defense platforms and Corvée warships. Status report, Jun ordered. Lieutenant Ta Kim, who had been with them since the discovery of the first military installation all those months ago, checked his console. Lyran forces have engaged the defense platforms on the southern approach. Vosh squadrons are disrupting their communications. Reclamation forces have breached their main line. Jun nodded. And our stealth teams? In position, awaiting your command. Jun took a deep breath. For this final battle, they had deployed their most advanced technology, ships equipped with enhanced stealth fields that could slip past Corvée sensors undetected. Each carried elite teams to disable key defensive systems from within. Give the order, Jun said. On 5 Corvée command stations orbiting Earth, alarm systems suddenly blared as critical systems failed without warning. Defense grids collapsed. Targeting computers malfunctioned. Communication arrays went silent. Sir, Ta called out. The defense grid is down. Our team succeeded. On the display screens, they watched as the Corvée ships around Earth fell into disarray, unable to coordinate their defenses. All ships, this is Admiral Park. Jun broadcast to the fleet. Commence attack pattern Alpha. Remember, minimal damage to the planet itself. Our goal is liberation, not destruction. The combined fleet surged forward, engaging the confused Corvée forces. Without their defense grid, without proper communications, the once mighty Corvée warships were easy targets. Corvée defense platforms neutralized, reported Lieutenant Tai after 30 minutes of intense fighting. Their orbital garrison is retreating. Commander Hannah Park stood beside her brother, wiping away tears as she gazed at their ancestral home. Though mining operations had scared its surface with massive pits and industrial complexes, the planet itself endured. Blue oceans still covered much of its surface, and patches of green forests could be seen between the mining zones. After 200 years, she whispered, we're home. All forces, this is Admiral Park. Jun broadcast to the fleet. Commence landing operations. Let's bring humanity home. The liberation of Earth took 3 days. Most Corvée forces surrendered when they realized their empire was collapsing around them. The workers, many from enslaved species, welcomed the liberation forces as saviors. And they found humans. Nearly 1 million of them, descendants of captured survivors, forced to work in the mines for generations. Though they spoke an altered version of Earth languages and knew little of their heritage, they were undeniably human. On the 3rd day, standing on Earth's soil for the first time, Hannah addressed representatives from 27 species who had joined the alliance. They gathered in what had once been a Corvée administrative center, now repurposed as the headquarters for the liberation. For 2 centuries, the Corvée Empire ruled through fear and destruction, Hannah said, her voice carrying to every corner of the large chamber. They believed that erasing a species like humanity was simply part of their right as conquerors. She looked around at the diverse gathering. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and evolutionary backgrounds, united by their desire for freedom. Today marks the beginning of something new. Today we establish the Terran Concordance, she declared, a union of free peoples with a single pledge. No species shall ever again face extinction at the hands of conquerors. This is our promise to the galaxy. Applause filled the chamber, alien voices calling out in support. Later that evening, Hannah stood alone on a hilltop, watching the sunset over what had once been called the Pacific Ocean. The air still carried the scent of industrial chemicals, but underneath was something familiar, something that spoke to her human DNA, the smell of Earth itself. Above her, stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Among them were the lights of ships, the combined fleet that had made this day possible. Hannah looked up at those stars, no longer as a refugee from a destroyed world, but as a guardian of a new galactic order. Humanity had returned from extinction, and the galaxy would never be the same.